Hey guys, welcome to my review of The House of the Devil. Quick pointer, I'm currently doing a set of reviews on my channel about based on films that you can watch on Netflix. I do have access to both the UK and the US version of Netflix, so I will state what version I can watch this film in. I watched this film on the US Netflix, and it is The House of the Devil, 2009 film by Ty West. I really enjoyed this film, and I'm going to go into a review now. Right, so the main character of the film is a girl called Samantha, played by Jocelyn Donahue, who is buying a house and needs money to pay rent for it, pay a deposit and rent for it to start living in it. So she's at a university, and she walks past a sign for a babysitting job, and she rings up the phone and somebody answers and then rings back on the payphone that she used, and she gets the job as the babysitter. So the film it's kind of like one of the 1970s, 80s films with a babysitter in a house, what's going to happen to her. But it's really, really well done. I mean, this film references films from the 70s and 80s so much, and it's done very, very well that it's almost like the film was made in the 80s and the 70s because of the use of camera movement and the kind of protagonist, we don't get it in horror films anymore, but like 70s and 80s films, we get this long period with build up, and which basically terrifies and creeps out the audience, and they're expecting something towards the end of the film to then scare the crap out of them. And it's this build-up that I really enjoyed in this film. As a fan of horror films, I've seen a load of films from just loads and loads of horror films basically. I used to really love them, but nowadays when I watch horror films, I'm not scared by them. I don't know whether that's because I've been desensitized or just because the style of them have changed significantly. I did watch this film late at night or early in the morning. I started watching it at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I was on my own watching this film in pitch black on my TV, which is how you probably should watch the horror film. This is the second film by Ty West I've seen. The first one I saw was The Innkeepers. Again, I might do a review of that. I saw that on US Netflix. And I wasn't sure whether I enjoyed that film as much. That film as well was all about the build-up, but I wasn't in the mood to watch that kind of film when I did. But more onto this film. So the first half an hour of the film, you get to know the character. She's a very likeable person. She plays the role very well, and you care for her. The second half an hour of the film, she's at a house. Looking around it, looking through all the corridors, seeing what's there, because she's babysitting, so she's bored, so she wants something to do. The last 20 minutes of the film goes a bit crazy. I don't really like what they did with the last bit, but hey, they chose to do that stylistically and narratively, and if somebody likes it, then sure, you'll enjoy it. I didn't like what happened, but the build-up is more than worth your while. We have the camera angles, like slow pans across like a landscape, and zooms, very slow zooms, which build up the tension. Most of the time, you don't realise they're there, and it really feels like an 80s film. There's nothing wrong with the way it's filmed at all. I actually thought, as I was watching it, this film could have been made in the 80s. But yeah, the performances in this film are really good. So the babysitter goes to a house to sit a baby, where she's greeted by Mr. Ullman, played by Tom Noonan. You may recognise him from The Human Centipede 2. He plays the psychiatrist in that. He then tells Samantha that she was not going to be looking after a baby. She's going to be babysitting his mother. In a horror film, when there's old people and then the tension builds and the old people are always scary, it's fucking terrifying. Something about it just creeps me out. The second half an hour of the film is actually really good because the tension builds and grows along this time. She's looking around the house and she's going into every room, and we don't know what she's going to find in there. And then there's parts of the film where you'll hear a bump or a thump, and you don't know what it is, and she doesn't know what it is, and it's really creepy. She goes looking, and there's certain scenes in the house we're never shown what's in a room before she goes into it, except for one occasion, and that is my favourite shot of the film. It's a favourite part of the film, totally. She looks at a door, and she's about to go through it, but then stops, and then we see what's in the room from a slow pan shot, which is zoomed in, and then zooms out of the film. So we see like it starts off small, and then we get like the big shot and reveal of what's in the film, and that freaked me out. There's something in that room which is really, really disturbing, and the music at that point builds up to a crescendo of string. The music in this film is very, very good. Feels like an 80s horror film. We also have 80s music within the film. There's a nice montage of her dancing around the house and doing fun things, just pass the time with a Walkman, which plays like 80s music. It's really good. That scene in the film is awesome. Yeah, but towards the end of the film, the build-up gets really, really tense. It gets absolutely terrifyingly tense. You know, nail-biting stuff. You don't know what the reveal's going to be, and you haven't seen the mother yet, so you don't know what she looks like. Going upstairs to the attic, that whole segment freaked me out. Really, really tense, very terrifying. And you know, they don't show the mother straight away. You see little parts of her, which just freaky as hell. The last read of the film did quite disappoint me. I wasn't ready for what it showed me, and I didn't expect it to happen at all. So that being said, I was a bit disappointed by that. But some people will like that. I give this film an 8 out of 10. Just for the build-up and the referencing of old horror films. This feels like a classic horror film, and the build-up is so tense. You can like cut it with a knife. It's just absolutely exceptional. Until the ending of the film I didn't like, but everything up until that was absolutely brilliant. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who's a fan of horror films. You may not like it, and I can understand why you wouldn't, but I do like it, and I stick with my review score. It got a 6.4 on IMDb, 73 out of 100 on Metacritic, and its Rotten Tomatoes score is 86%. I usually follow Rotten Tomatoes to see what kind of films I want to watch, but yeah, 86. It's a higher version of an 8 out of 10, but yeah, it's worth it because I really enjoyed the film. So with this Netflix thing, if you see a film on Netflix or UK or US, whatever you want, and you recommend I watch it and review it, please write it down in the comment section. I'm open to any film on there. I'd rather not watch romantic comedies or comedy films because comedy films do not float my boat at all. I don't find them funny, and romantic films are just boring. So yeah, please none of them, but any other film on Netflix I'm open to anything. If you recommend it, I'll check it out.